interesting topic. Definitely want to dive into that in UX. I don't know if you guys checked out our app, but the UX looks pretty slick. So love to dig into that topic as well.
And we will absolutely have the opportunity to do so in just a minute here. I'll definitely send the mic back to you, Flagship, to address these points. But thank you so much for joining us. And before we get back to Ben's mic check, I got to check on my guy before we begin. But before we do that, let's go ahead and say hello to the rep behind the T-Rise House Account. What's going on, T-Rise?
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. It's Eduardo from the future, right here in the present. I say we are in the future because we are surrounded by technology, and man, it's amazing. I am the CTO and co-founder for T-Rise Group. We are tackling the housing crisis by tokenizing real estate construction, and well, you get the assets on the blockchain, but then there's risk management. So our answer for that is AI. We have a decentralized AI venture that is powered by, it's one of the utilities of the RISE token, and it can allow for this creative collective intelligence. I think it's like the phenomenon of emergence, like the sum of the parts is greater. No, the total is greater than the sum of its parts. When you get these things together and you combine them, and yeah, I think that's why they invited me to talk in here about AI and Base, where we're also building on Base, and well, we had this AI venture, so let's get the conversation started. Always a pleasure to be in the house when ICE is hosting.
Actually, Eduardo, we invited you because I actually have this commission held up by a company for a pre-construction condo unit that I sold about 7.5 years ago. So I'm just kidding. But no, that part is true. That part is actually true. Still didn't get that check yet. Not sure what's going on. But the point is that whatever you were working on, Eduardo, I can use that. I can use that today. I can use that right now. Man, where were you? But anyway, looking forward to having that technology. Hopefully, iron out some of the kinks, at least in my life, and a lot of other realtors and real estate enthusiasts' life. But before we talk about more on AI and the user experience here at Base, let me go ahead and check back with my co-host Ben. Are you there with us now?
Yes, I'm here. I have arrived. I was actually just downloading the new Base app beta. Jesse sent me some code, so I was playing around with it. But yeah, talk about redefining UX. This app is pretty kick-ass.
Is this something that only Ben's have access to, and the rest of us are just gatekept? Because
no, man, Jesse's been giving these things out like hotcakes. Like anybody on the Base core team right now is like, they're giving out like a little bit here and there, and like I obviously was gonna complain about it and be like, I want one, and eventually they conceded and gave me early access. So those who can get in, definitely worth checking it out. I just claimed, and I think even like the process of setting up your profile, it makes you create like a base.eth tag. So I just went with the NFTs .base.eth, and it was just like, it was that simple. You go to log in, it prompts you to create that, you upload a profile picture, and you're ready to rock. So yeah, pretty cool.
Before your DMs get blown up, Ben, maybe we should just go ahead and redirect everything to Jesse after all that's happened.
Yeah, that's what I normally do. Yeah, it's all him.
No, Ben's inbox is getting blown up tonight or after the space, depending on when you hear it. But guys, that being said, let's go ahead and dive into today's conversation, all right? And we'll start things off more broadly, and then we will dive into specifics with Base. But first question I got for you guys, our dear panelists, is how is AI currently being used to improve the user experience here in Web3? So please, take a moment, think about what you want to say, and whenever you're ready to join us in on the conversation, kindly use the bottom right-hand panel to raise your hands like so. And of course, if you have anything to add in direct response or perhaps even rebuttal what the previous speaker just said, keep those hands raised for me. But also hit me up with one of these waving hand emotes right here, and I'll be more than happy to skip the line and send you the mic ASAP. And for the rest of our audience members listening in right now, please go back to the top of the Jumbotron. I keep on looking at the bottom right and seeing nothing. Always freaks me out, but ignore that. Go to the top of the Jumbotron, click that link, give us a like, comment, and retweet on today's space as I hand the mic back to my co-host to start things off. You were kind of actually talking about this already, Ben, but let's dive into the specifics, man. What is AI currently being used on right now in order to improve user experiences?
Yeah, it really is about expediting good. And it's not perfect, right? And so we see this with people using creative tools to like spin up websites really quickly that look way more professional than the old analog way of doing things, where people have the crappy out of the box version of whatever they're doing, but not a lot of customizations that don't take you off brand really quickly. So I think from just a simple design and vibe coding aspect, this is like changed a lot in terms of what people's expectations are in terms of delivering really hard-hitting applications. But beyond that, I think AI poses a really interesting answer to the dilemma of multi-application interfaces speaking to each other and forming really awesome conclusions. And so it's something I'm really excited about, and I think it lives a little bit underneath all the different systems that you see, is this ability to take and cross-pollinate with on-chain metrics and come up with really unique activations based on that. And so I would say we're probably still really early stages to that meta. I foresee the next few years really accelerating that. But in the interim, just being able to give people a simple on-ramp and access into the base ecosystem through these new applications like the Base's Everything app, I think is amazing. It's great progress.
Serving as the on-ramp, I guess, for both existing crypto enthusiasts and also normies that have never heard about it for the first time ever. I think this is also really good for them. But when we talk about like the things that people struggle with, or what causes users to churn or delete their app, like what comes to mind, Ben? Where do users typically experience the most significant amount of friction?
Steps. You want to reduce your cliff of users participating, reduce the number of steps they need to take to participate. And for crypto, that's long been a pain point. Simple things like creating and prompting people to create a username versus having to copy paste a long cryptographic address. Having really simple on-ramps and rails to move assets from one location to another without having to wait super long times for settlement. These sound simple enough, but it's been an engineering nightmare for a long time to try and build back-end solutions that make the front end seem incredibly seamless. And we're finally realizing that, realizing the vision rather, of what these can be when you start involving things like biometrics and WorldCoin and Humanity and some of those projects that are working on that, taking elements of cryptographic security and combining it with digital identity to give us some cross composability. That's the direction things are headed, and I think AI plays a really important role in accelerating that, because it allows us to filter through data a lot faster and arrive at conclusions with more concrete finality.
You got it, man. And especially here in Web3, right? Like people, I don't know where people's attention spans are IRL, but it does feel like when we peer through the lens of Web3, take that attention span and just go ahead and divide it by 2. That's maybe I'm being a little bit generous here, but that's honestly what it feels like, right? So really eliminating those initial layers of friction with any kind of app app or with any kind of user experience that we're trying to bring to our users here is incredibly important. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this one as well, Scott. Let's go back to the base question and then we'll explore as we go, all right? But to start things off, Scott, how, in your opinion, is AI currently being used to improve the systems and the user experiences here at Web3?
Man, T's hitting on the head, and I guess I'll kind of explain how it's really helping, well, especially the user, but for projects on the deepen side, and T's can attest to this. He's deep in the deepen game. There was a lot of spoofing going on, and a lot of, I don't know if those nodes are really there, and are they really doing that action? You know, whatever that sector is. And it was a real problem because not only you have that side of it, what T said about the data side, you have all this raw data, but then like when you bring this to an enterprise or Web2 buyer, like they want it harvested, clean, ready to rock, like, and they can actually get like, you know, data points from it that help their company. And what happened was there's all this raw data in Deepin being created just because maybe that sector was really hot, or, you know, maybe they raised a lot of money, whatever that was, but you didn't really know if those users were really users as a node, or if it was somebody who maybe turned their phone on, downloaded the app, and then never went on again. You really didn't know these numbers. And I feel like AI has really cleaned this up in the past year. And you've seen a lot of these kind of like, you're scratching your head about some of these numbers that didn't make any sense. You're like, wait, that many people download that Deepin? Is there that many Web3 wallets? Like, this isn't making sense here. And it's kind of just got out a lot of the bad actors, which, you know, kind of it's a trickle down effect. You know, you get rid of some of the bad actors, you know, cleans up the space, and the people really here, you know, shout out to like people like T-Rise that are really here doing the right thing. It makes it easier for them, right? It paves a better route to the end goal. So I really love how AI has really cleaned up the nodes in Deepin. And then I guess, you know, sticking on the Deepin side, I know we're talking about the user side, but I really think the maintenance side, all the way from something like Wingbits, all the way to something in mobility like D-Charge, just any kind of predictive maintenance will just save every company millions and millions of dollars. Like, you know, where the LLMs being fed. Now, you know, God forbid that Air India flight would go down. What if we knew, you know, whatever sensor or went bad when the MCAS system went down the airplanes, we would have known about that long before it happened. So I think autonomous maintenance on the company side, and then security side on the user side for AI is really something that you really don't see talked about too much.
Yeah, Scott and I met when I was working at HiveMapper in the Deepin space. We like bonded over like the idea of how these networks were getting set up and what it really meant to kind of crowdsource infrastructure. And there are already AI components in that project with HiveMapper, which led me into Sapien and understanding that there was all this that was happening kind of behind the scenes to, like he said, structure the data. And that was super valuable, in my opinion. And so that became functionally what Sapien is working on more in a more focused capacity is that idea of turning raw data into structured data. So I think it was a natural jump over there, but like always have a place in Deepin. And obviously Scott's like been an authority in mover and shaker in that space, and excited to see what he's doing with this new venture too with orbital beam. So really cool stuff, Scott.
Hey, and Tease, real quick, just to add on these points, like you're already seeing too, like the biggest thing, a lot of these companies, their data sets combined is very powerful as opposed to a single layer data set. And now with some of these new AI companies, I think it's called, I forgot, damn, I don't remember, I'm so sorry. But there's a company that could take like HiveMapper's data, maybe somebody from a different blockchain, but you all get your equal parts when it's sold, right? So if HiveMapper contributed 40%, Nadix did 10%, whatever that is, AI can go, okay, this is all who contributed this data set that Chevy bought, or, you know, whatever Toyota bought, and this is your, this is your outcome, and this is how much you got for that harvested data. And I think if this is being built now, with AI, you just compound it. What's this in 90 days? What's this in 180 days? And it's going to get really, really, really cool. And I think it'll kind of make change, not have to be like, well, I don't want to combine our data with this because it's on this chain. No, we can still do this and still all get, our fair share of the pie.
Yeah, as microtransactions on data harvesting as like a passive function, and then like what Sapien is doing, which is like giving people the ability to come in and structure that data and be rewarded. I think that's like the killer case.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying as well. I feel like AI has a very strong foothold in dealing with the intricacies surrounding forex, right? Foreign exchange. That's going to be something that people usually have a lot of problems with. What is fair and what is not, right? At what time of the day. And in addition to that, AI to kind of crunch this data, all these statistics on chain. I think this, in conjunction with actually giving users balanced rewards, these are all things that we can use a little bit more of here in Web3. But real quick, one follow-up for you, Scott, and then we'll pass it over to Flagship. It's a couple of things that you mentioned that piqued my interest here. First of all, you were talking about spoofing and what that falls under. I do believe that falls under security and privacy sector, actually. But the question I kind of wanted to ask you is, do you think AI is, like right now, in present day, in July 29, 2025, do you think AI is being used more to contribute towards privacy protection efforts? Or do you think it's the opposite? Do you think AI is being used to exploit and break through our previously built layers of defense? What are your thoughts on this?
Yo, if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have probably said the first one. But this after what Sam Altman said, and I know everyone has a different view of him, but I like the guy. But yeah, he pretty much told us, everything that you tell ChatGPT, we can literally just hand it over to the feds, be handed over to, so he literally said it himself. So not that I'm surprised, right? Like, I'm born and raised in Silicon Valley. Like, Cheese, I don't want to dox Cheese, but yes, this is what this area is. Like, there's no like, oh, it's Web3 or it's Web, we're gonna, we could try to, but at the end of the day, like there's always gonna be more data tomorrow than there was before, and again, if you clean it right and you harvest it right, it's really expensive. And yeah, why would somebody just want to be able to not only give it away, but you don't want to be under pressure on the government side either, right? We already saw that, so I guess that there's a two-way, double-edged sword to that.
Yo, that's so subtle there, but we mentioned the cleanup of said data. I suppose this is why, Scott, right? This is why the whole spoofing situation is happening. It's maybe it's not exactly cleanup, but I feel like spoofing is part of the strategy to going towards that cleanup. They're trying to protect themselves, trying to cover their footprints a little bit. But right there, I saw the hand waving email. I'm gonna go ahead and honor that God power. Eduardo, you got your hand up paired up with the waving email, please, man. The mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you. I had to step in. I was here thinking what to say about agentic AI, but the subject of privacy and AI was touched, and I need to talk about what we're doing now, which is like I went to a presentation at some point in a university to see what the academia was doing in the area of decentralized artificial intelligence, and I learned this thing called federated learning that can allow for privacy preserving AI. So there is such a thing, guys. There is an alternative, and the beauty of it is that let me explain how it works. It's very simple. It's like you have your data, I have my data, and ICE has his data, and we don't share our data. I train an AI model on my data, you do the same on your data, and ICE does the same on his data. And then we combine these models. We create a collective intelligence so that the data is private. The privacy is preserved during this process. And there's some economic incentives in there. Like that's where the Arise token fits in, because okay, if we can mathematically see that your model increase the intelligence of the overall thing, you get rewarded. If you don't, well, we just trash it. You don't get any rewards. And anyway, we move on. But the beauty of this is that there's so many companies out there, institutions, that they do have data, but they're not doing anything with this data. It's just sitting there. It's siloed. It's separate from reality from the rest of the world because it's sensitive data. They wish they could use it for something good. They wish they could monetize it, but they can't. So there you have it. I just wanted to step in and say, hey, that there is such thing as privacy preserve in AI. There's also, I mean, this is more for the future, I guess. There's also the opportunity for people to locally run their AI models, but I think we're not there yet because it needs powerful hardware that nowadays, well, we have to send our data to the cloud and stuff happens in there. But yeah, the future has a bright outlook. I completely embrace it. I'm one of those that want more AI. The more AI, the better.
Yo, let's go, Eduardo. Do you mind if I actually come in here with a potentially, I don't want to say a derailing comment, but let's say it's a potentially mind-provoking kind of thought here. But while you were talking about federated learning, brother, it kind of got me thinking, right? Like, yeah, well, so in your example where we don't share data, 3 test subjects, right? We collectively train the AI together, and now we have this final AI, final product. And in this final product, the privacy is preserved amongst the 3 people that we collect the data from. But I can see a situation where, let's say this model absolutely takes off, it goes on to spawn many fantastic AI models, and people start to monetize off of it. Now that this has done some monetization, I'm pretty sure those people that provided the data to train said AI, now they're going to come in and say, well, my data is more important than yours. So what I'm getting at is, like, yes, with this example, privacy is in fact preserved, right? But when we talk about blockchain, we always talk about transparency and traceability. And the question I kind of had for you, and maybe you don't have an answer for this, but in your mind, Eduardo, do you think federated learning perhaps clashes with the ethos of Web3 in any way?
Oh, no, not at all. I do have an answer, and I don't think they clash at all. They go hand in hand. Because at least the way that we do things is that the blockchain is actually the orchestration layer. It's kind of like the transparency layer. So I mean, this, how do we figure out if you're increasing the intelligence of the model or decreasing, like, as in if your data is more valuable than someone else's? That's a very deep question, and we have a partnership with a research chair in a Canadian university, and you have 20 PhDs and master researchers in there. They're trying to figure out the answers to these questions. It's super mathematical. But yeah, you run these mathematical models and they basically output a number, and there you go. You can figure out if you increase or if you decrease the intelligence of the model. And this is posted into the blockchain for everyone to see. So you can actually see the results in there, and you can also reproduce them locally if you want. If you're not if you don't agree that my data was more valuable than what you say it is, okay, go ahead. Just redo the calculations. Here's how it is. It's open source. You can use the Flower framework that we have a partnership with, and the blockchain is used as the orchestration layer. That's the beauty of it also, hand in hand.
Brother, I appreciate that response, man. Thank you so much. And I do also apologize if I accidentally put you on the spot, but I think you handled it like a champ. So thank you for that. We do have the power. We do have the power to dispute it, guys. If we don't like the outcome, if we don't think we got if we don't think we actually got what we rightfully deserved from our data. But now that we do have finally we got Flagship back in the building. So first of all, welcome back. And secondly, I wanted to hand you the mic earlier. I wanted to hear your thoughts on this before I hit you with any follow-up questions. But yeah, Flagship, did you have anything that you wanted to comment about what we just previously discussed?
Yes, so much valuable input. Super interesting. Yeah, I got a call, so I got drugged from the Twitter space. They really should do something about that. But no, in general, what I've been thinking about for months now, maybe even years at this point, is, and I think we touched on this topic already in the discussion today, is whether it's going to be offensive or defensive AI that's going to be more powerful, right? Is this an offensive or defensive technology? And I think online is, and I think just to summarize what's already been mentioned here, you have AI that is causing problems. You see on Twitter, you see the AI slop, you see content, you see disingenuous content, and also a lot of bots. And then you have world humanity and also WorldCoin and the WorldCoin ecosystem that is solving for that. And I think you see the same with MetaMask, right? So AI makes it easier to deploy projects, set up websites, but on the other end, you also have AI that's defensive. So it's protecting people from faulty smart contracts, potential exploits, potential scams, so it flags them for you. So I think we're going to see this really, because the bounty is so big in crypto, I think we're going to see the battle between offensive and defensive AI play out right in front of us. So that's something that also hooks into the UX, right? Because a lot of the components of crypto that are still underwhelming for most users is the onboarding. Which tokens do you buy? Which assets do you buy? What can you trust? How do you use all these systems? That's before getting to the UX hurdle, actually, as was said earlier as well, sharing the wallet addresses. But yeah, I think in general that's the question that for the UX is still. And I'm curious to your thoughts as well. If you think defensive or offensive AI in crypto is going to be taking the overhand.
You know, as you were talking just now, brother, I was actually sitting here kind of thinking about this, and it kind of triggered a thought in my head, and maybe a lot of you guys in the audience are thinking this as well. I don't blame you. And that is, you guys heard the idiom, right? Like the best defense is a good offense. And I was just thinking, does this idiom actually apply to AI and Web3? I guess to answer your question, will be a counter answer to your question with a question. But yeah, Flagship. The best defense is a good offense. Does this idiom have any merit in Web3 and AI? What are your thoughts on this, man?
Oh, that is actually quite deep. I think in a way, it isn't essentially the meaning of the idiom, but I do think it applies. Is that in crypto the best defense is to get offended or attacked as many times as possible, right? That's why we all use Aave, because we know Aave has been people have been trying to exploit Aave in every single way possible. It hasn't get exploited, so we know the defense is good because it got attacked so many times. So perhaps that also applies in general in the broader industry.
Yo, this is fantastic. Oh man, but while we have this topic here, I gotta get my man JC on this. JC, talk to me, man. What do you think about the idiom "the best defense is a good offense"? Do you think this has any application here in AI and Web3?
I do. I totally do. I think with any technology, especially one as disruptive and fast moving as AI, there's always going to be this constant kind of cat and mouse game of exploiters and opportunists trying to take advantage of the system. So in some ways that's kind of the attack, and then itself, and through that defense improve the system, learn of systemic vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and essentially heal itself and kind of evolve into kind of a better system. So I think it's the constant flow of attacks and defenses that improves the overall ecosystem and structure as a whole. So it's going to continue, and hopefully that will just level up everything in general.
It's the constant attack and defenses that moves us forward. Couldn't have said it better myself. JC, we got some hands. Let's toss it over to Scott, and then we'll check in with Flagship right after this.
No, I just wanted to give a cherry on top of what JC was saying. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like there's both, right? Like what we were using DPIN as the first example. So the defensive side obviously was the first example, security, spoof proofing, the bad data. But then the offense could be deployment prediction. NFT knows you work at iMapper. So basically, if you're not in a DPIN, you can basically find out where this infrastructure is needed, like mobility, chargers, farming sensors, things like that before, so you can optimize not only where you're going to put the infrastructure, but the ROI on all these devices. So yeah, I feel like the best is both, right? Like, it's really good to have a good defensive player. It's really good to have a good offensive player. But give me, some of that can do both. I think you can definitely, it's definitely something you can use here.
I think offense is onboarding and defense is security. Like that's how I've partitioned it in my brain. Offense is making it functional in such a way that like you're bringing this massive scale to the equation, and I think in doing so you get your defense as well, and you get battle tested. The bigger you are, the more aware people are of your product, the more they're going to come in and break it, the more they're going to experiment, the more they're going to tell you what they want to fix. And this is like a part of the ethos of decentralized building in public. So we want those massive droves of people, and then we want to be able to sort through and filter through those ideas. And so, I mean, kind of just revisiting the topic here of redefining UX, I think that's a part of it, using AI tools to really sort through and determine what are the biggest asks from the community in terms of how to improve your UX, and then building according to how people move.
Dude, I love that, man. Offense is onboarding and defense is security. And in before someone twists your words, Ben, but I guess the saying goes that as long as we onboard enough people will get rugged to the point where educational defense becomes the standard. That is totally not what Ben is saying, by the way. I'm just messing with him. But we do have some hands. Actually, Flagship, I want to check in with you first, since you just disconnected and pulled back up, and I did see your hand earlier. So I want to pass you the mic first, and then we pass it over to Eduardo afterwards.
Yeah, sure thing. Very beautifully spoken just before this. I just wanted to hook something in, which I think is quite interesting for the conversation. So what we did with Flagship, right? We built a proprietary AI that scrapes social data from Telegram and trades based on that. But the funny thing is, and which is why I'm tying it into this conversation, is actually it all started with about 3 years ago. We wanted to create airdrop filters. So we wanted to filter out bots, and we wanted to filter out spam from Telegram communities, because it was such an abundant problem, not just for us, but also for other projects. So that's why we started building the system initially, and then we found out it was actually quite hard, so we started digging in deeper, and slowly it evolved into this engine that could scrape Telegram for data. But it started from a defensive position as well, and now it's becoming offensive, which is quite interesting.
Oh man, you know, this whole defense offensive thing. I don't even know who's the one that brought it up at this point, but whoever brought this up, thank you for giving.
It was you, dude. You brought it up. Thank
really?
myself.
Really? Oh, dude, no, legit. Who did this? Who's responsible? I'm responsible for this. Thank you. I'm just gonna throw myself under the bus there. At least it was a good thing. I was gonna thank whoever brought this up. But anyway, thank God that's how it unfolded. But also, Ben, thank you for checking me. I appreciate you, man. Eduardo, I see your hand up. Let's go ahead and toss it over to you. And then I do want to bring this back. About base AI and base apps. Just a second here with Ben. But in the meantime, Eduardo, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Still laughing, man. But I want to connect the dots here, defense, offense, and base. You know, because the way I see this is the journey for base is still in its early stages. I think the main issue there that they have to increase the decentralization of the network looking forward, and it's in the roadmap, so it's going to be done. But looking forward for the evolution of on-chain AI, I think it's right now there's some simple agents out there that do some simple tasks, but more complex stuff, more multi-agent systems that's coming in the future. And they're going to be capable of executing like all sorts of sophisticated financial strategies, or manage the governance of DAOs, or even creating new forms of decentralized autonomous organizations. So the future for me is like a multitude of autonomous AI agents interacting transactions with one another. I'm pretty sure the listeners heard this vision before. But like the thing of offense and defense, it makes me think of software engineering. And the main difference between software engineering and, I don't know, other engineering is like rockets or space engineering or even civil engineering is that you can build stuff with software and test it as many times as you want. But if you're trying to build a bridge and you want to test it out, lives might be lost. You know what I mean? There's going to be explosions. Things going to fall down. It's going to be violent. So you have to be kind of defensive when it comes to that. Whereas in software engineering, you can be as aggressive as you want. You do it, put it out there. Did it work? No? Okay, let's try again, but different. Did it work? Nice, good. We have something on our hands. So what does this mean for Base? I think Base has a cookbook for launching AI agents on the ecosystem. And folks can just follow this cookbook and deploy these agents on the Base Sepolia, which is the testnet for the Base blockchain. So it's a hands-on experience that is also risk-free. This environment is a test environment. There's no tokens lost. There's no bridge collapse. There's no rocket explosion. So there you go. You can be as aggressive as you want and literally just experiment, build and experiment. It's like they say on Base, but you put it there and you watch it grow.
Put it there and watch it grow. By the way, Eduardo, since the beginning of time, right, since we knew about DAOs, the whole decentralized autonomous organizations, it's kind of strange that I never really thought about how AI can plug into DAOs, even though it literally has the word autonomous in its name there. But really interesting. But also, I think just the aspect of what you were just talking about, like giving us the ability, AI allowing us to conduct these extremity of experiments in a controlled environment before deploying. I think this is also very important as well. And I honestly don't see this slip up as often as I do before, but we all remember the days of 21, right? Back in the year 2021, like so many mints would happen, and then right when mint is about to go live, we have like a breach in the Discord, fake links are being dropped, there's like an AI fake collection, well, not AI, but fake collections being done. Like there's all these things that happen in the past, and I actually don't see that as often now in the present. Maybe a combination of reasons. It might be just the fact that hackers are getting lazy, maybe mints and NFTs aren't popping off like they were before, or maybe there is that layer of AI doing that BTS behind the scenes defense that we're not really thinking of. But all in all, I think this conversation with the offensive defense is really, really interesting. I never really think to make this analogy here, but this is going to go down as one of my wall of fame and shame at the same time. One of the greatest segues that we've ever had. One of the worst possible slip ups, because I didn't know I fumbled the bag on this one. But bring this one home, man. Bring this one home to you, Ben. One of the things that we talked about in this show is utilizing AI in order to onboard, right? So I want to double down on this for just a second here. And actually, before I say anything else, you got your hand up. Let's hand the mic over to you first.
I'm going to do something I don't normally do and talk about somebody else's product that was on the Base ecosystem that I think plays a critical role in this onboarding experience, because I really didn't understand it until I hopped in. And I think that's one of the biggest friction points we still face, is like getting people to sign up and do things. Even the simplest things, people are just kind of overwhelmed with the number of apps they have in their phone currently. And so I finally got on Zora and I started posting about it. And it wasn't until I got involved, I was like, oh, I get this. Like, I get how this can pill a lot of people and get them to understand kind of the base creator economy and create fractionalization, mimetic energy using pump.fund mechanics, as well as like a resurgence in valuing creators and social buying and all that stuff, all those elements wrapped into one. And I think to arrive at these type of applications, there's a level of information underneath that needs to be organized in such a way to make these things function seamlessly. And so I'm not 100% sure to what effect Zora is using AI, but what I could tell you is it started triggering all these ideas in my mind about how we could use AI to create, let's call it like different thresholds of unlockable content based on on-chain activity. And this has like lived in my brain for a really long time about how these mechanics are really important to digital identity. We are still facing information overload. We have 1 billion profiles, we have 1 billion applications, and they don't all talk to each other. And we want to maintain privacy, sure, but we also want an element of I'm being understood and I fit into a community. And the problem is communities have been curative based on people's buying behavior, not based on these other elements. And so I really see AI playing a role in creating the bridges that are necessary for universal digital identity. And I think that's something that I would plant my flag in, and with somewhat confidence that this is why you see people like Meta paying, $15 billion to acquire the best minds in AI. And we see this with other social platforms as well. They understand this too, that there is a limited viewpoint, and the keyhole we've been looking for is starting to expand. And AI is the thing that's going to sherp us to the next phase of internet, be whatever that is. But I think it does start with these universal apps, and that's why I think Coinbase and Base making the Base app is just a really, really smart future thinking move. It's positioning to have your wallet, your social profile, your art, your everything all in one place.
Yeah, it's like having that one catch-all app to do all the things that you need to do in Web3, as opposed to having 7 wallets, 3 different apps here, like a couple of off-ramps in case one goes down. Like just all these like backup strategies involving us humans to download a gajillion things onto our phones. That I can definitely live with a few less apps on my phone, man. Before I come back to you, JC, you got your hand up. Let's bring it over to John first.
Yeah, just wanted to add a little bit onto that. Like we kind of see a little bit of how that success already works with the everything app that has been successful in China, like with WeChat and other kind of app ecosystems that started off as a simple like chat-based application, but because they were able to achieve critical mass, they were then, and also kind of achieve a critical level of capitalization, they were able to then reinvest and build out pretty much everything within that ecosystem because they had access to that critical mass of users. And then over time, it's chatting to e-commerce and shopping to manage your finances to payments and now to micropayments and to pretty much everything else, social media, etc. So I really think that Base is, with the launch of the Base app, with what they're, with what Zora is doing, is, looking to move in that direction. And they obviously have the backing. They have, granted, it's not massive, but in Web3 at least, they have, and also just in the crypto and financial space, they have a critical mass of users via Coinbase that they can leverage and push through into the Base ecosystem, into the Base app ecosystem. So things do kind of coalesce, and there is that traction, which I'm personally optimistic about. I've been playing around with the Base app for the last couple of days. We are in the process of looking at building a mini app for the Base app ecosystem, and I think as that starts to gain traction, we're going to see the users come in, and most importantly, we're going to see non-Web3 native users come in, and kind of going back to kind of the initial discussion on AI, like the natural language capabilities of AI, the ability for it to process massive amounts of unstructured data into structured data, into market intelligence, into valuable information. All those things kind of hopefully can come into play and make a better, easier entry point for users so that they can use, let's say like Mammo right now on Base app and be like, hey, I've got, first of all, I've got like a couple $100 that I can just easily deposit and convert into USDC. Now I can then deposit that and start earning yield using natural language. I'm sure there's gonna be more applications that are gonna launch that are gonna kind of be tailored around these types of lower barrier entry, easy to use applications that make people's lives easier. And I think at the end of the day, that's the sticky point, and that's what's gonna make people come on board, use Web3, use crypto, and also leverage AI. So I'm personally pretty excited overall.
Yes, sir. Just with apps that have this capability, right? that has like this capability of being this catch-all app to kind of do everything. You know, WeChat, it wasn't always like that. And I love that you brought up that example, John. And it's that, yes, it started off as a messaging app, but now it's very different. It's a combination of a messaging app. It is Instagram, it is a wallet, and it's even kind of like TikTok, even though, well, Xiaohongshu kind of has the whole TikTok thing taken out of Red Note. But anyway, that I do digress. But the point is that, like, if we look back, right, like the folks in China, like in Beijing, for example, they don't carry wallets. People in Beijing do not carry wallets. They got WeChat Pay. Everything that they need to do, really, from work, outside of work, to leisure, to going to bed, everything is done through WeChat. And when I visited and I saw that, I was like, wow, these guys are living in the future. And well, that was back then, and now we're catching up. We're catching up. But I do see a lot of similarities, and the fact that the key point being critical mass, right? When enough people use it, that form of payment or that form of life becomes standard. So the fact that enough folks in China got onto WeChat and really turned that app into the standard, this is kind of what we're trying to achieve here with Base as well. So good opportunity in the final moments here. Bring it back to my co-host Ben. Ben, talk to us, man. What is actually Sapien's role right now with the integration of AI features on Base, and how do you guys see Sapien improving the entire blockchain with what you guys are building?
I think it's so funny because we're getting botted right now on this space. I just watched it go from like 65 to 350. I was like, what is happening? And as I say that, now they're backing out. Hi, bots.
But who did this? I promise it was not.
It was Ice. He was like in the last 5 minutes of the show. Come on. Sorry. Anyway, I was distracted. I think we've been really clear at our position at Base, especially since Rowan was like a co-creator of Base, and so there's a bias there, there's a personal relationship there, and there's a desire to see that chain succeed. And I think it's also a great place of authority in the space, and building in tandem with Ethereum. And you know, I went and visited the Ethereum Foundation here in San Francisco, and I think there's a desire for Ethereum to participate more in the ecosystem growth as well. And so there's a lot of conversations around that. But more than that, I mean, applications like ours don't have a barrier to entry and give people the ability to participate as little or as much as they would like. And so the idea that anybody could sign up for our application and then start training AI and get rewarded in crypto while being a part of the Base ecosystem, I think would be amazing. You know, we would love to see ourselves at some point featured in that app so that people can open it, log in, set up their profile, and then just get after it. But like, and there's going to be a ton of people, you know, fighting for those positions. But I think with the next gig economy is going to be very much geared towards people soliciting their data, soliciting their minds to the betterment of technology and technology companies. And so I think more applications like ours will probably get a spotlight as we're gearing up for a bigger AI future. And so it really helps when apps, especially universal apps, have a series of really interesting things that people can participate in. So, you know, if you're looking at these apps initially, they're focused around markets, and really simply, can people make money here in terms of buying and selling crypto or whatever they want to do, getting exposure into Bitcoin at the retail level. And then there are elements of things like gaming, like on-chain games, and something that is a little bit more light and like having a mobile interface where you can go and access those things, and you can port your profile from one game to the next and maintain those awesome achievements and things, and then like digital art collecting, all those. So I think it's going to be the way I would see it partitioning is there's probably going to be like gig economy apps, there's going to be T-pin apps, there's going to be like things that are geared towards, you know, making you more crypto. And then there's going to be things that are geared towards, you know, fun and experiential stuff. And I think all those things are important to master your position here in, we'll call it Web 4.
I know this is meant to be a base in AI space, but you know, on the topic of that, just right now, Ben, I spoke about this a lot with a lot of gaming projects, and one of the things that I kind of want to see in the future with gaming, especially for our creators and ambassadors, smaller accounts that don't get enough love that they deserve with the amount of efforts that they put on the table here. And it's that if we utilize blockchain technology to have these on-chain stats, maybe you're a KOL, maybe you promoted a game, but you don't actually play it. But who's gonna ever know? You bring the impressions. Let's go ahead and pay this guy. And then we have the smaller creator that is very knowledgeable, but they don't have the exposure. But they actually play the game, yet no one knows about it. Now we have the means to actually track this, utilizing AI, built this into the on-chain systems. We can gather this data and we can prove that these creators and these ambassador candidates are who they say they are. They can prove that they play the game and they have the expertise and skill and the skill expression to back it up. And this is the kind of integration that will then allow users, creators, and ambassadors to find working opportunities, right? Utilizing the technology to actually improve the quality of life for the people is honestly something that I'm fully subscribed to this camp of thought, by the way. But back to what you were saying, Ben, the solicitation of data to improve technology and of course to improve humanity, holding true to the branding of Sapiens. I absolutely love that, man. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this will mark the end of our space for today. And once again, panelists, thank you so much for this conversation. What a way to end the day. I'm glad that this is my final show for the day, because this is like one of my favorite conversations. You guys made me laugh so many times with the situation that popped up in the back. The botting of the bots are still here, by the way, and it's getting worse. We went from 200 to 500 to 800, and now we're at 905. I don't know who's doing this, but we're watching.
It's flagship. That's why they're waving.
We're gonna. We will find you. Well, whoever you are, we will find you and we will DM you. But, panelists, once again, thank you so much for the conversation today. And audience members, thank you for tuning in and dropping all those likes, comments, and retweets. We really do appreciate all the love and support. And one last time, make sure you guys are following the Sapien House account, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you guys don't miss out on any of our latest updates. But until then, this is going to be Ice and Ben signing off, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.